All right, let's just start. Hello and welcome to the PAX Q&A. Finally, it's been a couple of weeks. It's been a long time since I actually went to PAX. I barely remember anything, but I'll try my best, okay? It's been a couple of hectic weeks because it's been cons back to back to back. If you don't know how we do things around here, usually before a con, we have to do con prep because with editing for Sean as well and him needing a video per day, usually before a convention or a trip, we would edit, I would edit double time. Basically, we do double time videos for like the week before, just to cover the days when we are away. So we had to do con prep, then go to PAX, and then come home and do more con prep, and then go to Twitchcon. And now we're still sort of in prep mode because he's traveling again. Right now he's in Japan. But we still have some videos, I still have some videos backed up. So it's definitely been a couple of hectic weeks. It's been a little bit messy, but I think we're catching up. So I'm gonna take this time. I mean, it's now 1:30 a.m., but I wanna record this PAX vlog before it's been too long and answer some of your questions to the best of my abilities. Hopefully, I won't lie too much.
Or will I? I hope that effect worked now.
I can't hear it without the headphones. Did I sound cool? So anyway, Ashith Hedge asks, honestly, what exactly is PAX? Is it just a gaming convention or also art? This is a question that I kept seeing popping up. So I figured maybe I should just actually explain that. Maybe people who don't go to PAX or have any plans or wants for going to conventions maybe don't know what PAX is. So why not just summarize it a little bit for you right here. Now, go. PAX is the Penny Arcade Expo. So Penny Arcade, like an arcade. You play, it's video games. So they have, when you enter the con, it's a big open floor. It's a big, imagine like a airplane hangar or like a big sports arena, but without the actual like sitting places. It's a big open space with many video games and merch and brands, and you can go and demo things and play things and test things. There's usually the bigger booths, like Blizzard usually have a booth. There's a Sony one, Microsoft one, Nintendo one. There's usually there's always an indie mega booth in the center, which is basically a sanctioned off little square for all of the indie developers to put up maybe just, like a one little tower with a little banner and their game and a PC to play it on, to demo it on. And usually they're there to tell you what their game is about and trying to sell you the game, basically. Try to explain the game to you as you either just listen or play it yourself. And you take a card. And usually this is where I would go to scout for new games that usually maybe would otherwise fly under the radar, because obviously if you're an indie developer, especially if you're just the one person, obviously you wouldn't have the same marketing budget as Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo. I feel like for those games I would probably see them anyway because they'd show up everywhere. But I like scouting the indie mega booth for art styles and take some cards. And other than that, there's also all the merch. So the big ones usually sell their own merch, and there's game studios there that sell merch as well. Like Double Fine is usually always there, and Blizzard, obviously, they have merch as well. But there's also, usually there's Fangamer, Think Geek, I Am 8-Bit, and others as well that sell just like gaming merch, general gaming merch. The I Am 8-Bit is the one that I like to always check out because they usually sell vinyls. I bought a Slime Rancher vinyl this time around, which is very cute. So there's that, and then there's also the board games section. If you move away from the video games, or if it's on West, you go to a different floor. There's also the board game section where they have general board games, both big and small, indie ones as well, and Magic the Gathering and D&D and things like that. And then you have the signings, panels, stuff like that, which is the more event side of things, where it starts at a time, obviously, and you go and you sit down and you watch a thing. I've actually never been to a panel that wasn't a YouTuber panel for like one of my friends, so I don't actually have personal experience of what those are all about. But I know that they've had stuff like talks about writing for games and horror in games and how to, it's basically a lot of how to make games and how to do things pertaining to gaming, I guess, in general. And obviously for the signings and stuff, you meet the YouTubers or whoever is there, and you do that for about 3 to 16,000 hours, and you hug a lot of people, and then you go eat dinner. That's about it. That's PAX. Welcome. Flip Wizardry. Do you ever get to explore Boston the city, or do you mainly keep to the hotel and the convention center? I mean, we get to if we want. There's no law stopping us from exploring Boston, but mainly not a lot. I mean, I have been around Boston a little bit because we get to different places, especially usually what happens from our perspective is that when you go to PAX, we do our things, we go to the panels and maybe we walk the floor, and then in the evenings, because PAX is a 4-day thing, so I'm usually there for 5 nights. I arrive on the day before PAX starts, so you get, the night to wind down and get a good night's sleep. And then I leave on the day after PAX ends, just so you can, enjoy your last evening without having to rush to the airport. So usually there's always parties and stuff going on. If you're in the creator space, there's always something happening. There's usually a Twitch party or a YouTube party or Epic. I think we're having parties. There's parties, organized parties by like company things to sort of get people to show up and network, mingle, I guess. It's kind of nice usually. They have sometimes free food and sometimes open bar with like a little specialized gamer menu. It's kind of cute, but it's also usually invite only, so it feels a little bit elitist. I get it, because otherwise they would probably get crowded, but it's a weird thing, because you can tell when you go to these things who's just there to sort of try to ladder climb, and sometimes it feels a little bit gross. But mostly it's all fun, so usually we go to those kinds of things, which takes us around the city a bit. I think for I don't remember now if this was Boston or Seattle. I think in Boston, Twitch had a party at an arcade, a barcade. So we got to go there and we got to like do some barcade type stuff, play some games and do some bowling. That was fun. And then I think for Seattle one, or maybe it's the opposite, they had a party at a museum. So we went to a museum and saw all the suits from Avengers. So that stuff's fun. And in doing that, you get around the town a little bit. Other than that, it's mainly to go and find a place to eat food.
I love me again.
1997. What would you recommend a first-timer to do? I'm going to West and I'm really anxious. Well, it's a little bit hard for me to judge because I guess I have a very privileged view of PAX. We're very lucky when it comes to going to PAX because we are escorted by enforcers, and we have these special badges that lets us go in to PAX on any day. We don't need to swap them out or get specific badges for specific days. And usually we don't have to wait in line to get into PAX or into the actual panels themselves. So it's a little bit hard for me to judge what to prioritize, but I would say if you're going to PAX as a first timer, plan for the panels, because that's the thing, or the panels and the meet and greets that you might want to go to. Plan around those. Plan maybe 1 or 2, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Don't try to fit too much into your schedule, and leave a lot of leeway around those things that you might want to do. Maybe don't plan so much for seeing a specific game or playing a specific thing or buying a specific thing, because if you do that, then you might end up feeling like the day is ruined because you didn't get to do all the things that you had set out to. I think it's better to go to PAX with an open mind, an open schedule. And if you want to go to a panel, obviously go to that panel, but try to keep the rest of the day sort of free for whatever happens, and just go there and just experience it, the whole thing. Maybe, I would say, if you're a first timer, if you can afford it and you can get the tickets, go for all of the days, just so you don't have to sort of rush through or stress out about cramming everything into 1 or 2 days. I know that it is really expensive, especially living arrangements. It's the most expensive part by far of going to any PAX is living in the Americas for the time of the con. That's like one of the things that I have to like save up to, and then it makes my bank account sad, and then I have to start saving up again for the next one. But I mean, it's totally worth it. And if you can go for all of the days, then you don't have to cram everything in, and you can get a feel for it. You can say, oh, you know what? I'm tired today. I'm gonna go back to the hotel. And you can just do the thing tomorrow instead. But I mean, if you can't afford that, or you can't get tickets for all of the days, don't like freak out about it. You can still experience PAX in 1 day, but best case scenario, don't plan too much, go there and get a feel for it, and take it at your own pace. Because there's a lot of people, and there's gonna be a lot of waiting around, in a lot of queues, but it is worth it, I think. Snow Lavender says, did you see any lesser known games that you think might have potential? Potential, I don't know if I'm the correct person to judge potential in games, but I did see some games that I hadn't seen before when I went to the Indie Mega booth. I took some of the cards. I mean, this is the thing about PAX as well, that obviously if you go to PAX, if you go to a lot of PAXs, especially back-to-back, you're gonna see a lot of repeat games because, well, obviously it takes more time. It takes longer than half a year or a year to make a game. So you're gonna see the same games popping up again and again. And this year, there wasn't that much in terms of brand new stuff. There were some games that were new, but maybe weren't my type of games anyway. And then there were the big ones that I knew of already, like Yoshi's Woolly World. But I did take some cards. For example, there was this game called Stay. It seemed to be a game, as far as I understand it, it was a game about escaping. It's like an escape room game, but you play as a third party, and the guy who's actually escaping is trapped in a room, and you can only communicate with him through chat messages. Available in May. Looked kind of cool. Somehow I also had no idea that they were making a Layers of Fear 2, but I really like Layers of Fear 1. I am all down for Layers of Fear 2. Apparently it looks like it's taking place on a boat this time. So that's pretty cool. Because, boats are scary. Because they're made out of metal. And metal sinks in water. Apparently I took a card for Phantom Brigade. I have no idea what this is, but it's cinematic turn-based mech tactics. And it has these people in it. So that's gotta be cool, right? They look pretty badass. I don't know why I took this. Maybe this is one of those guilt trippy cards that you just take because the devs are really enthusiastic. I'm sure it's awesome. And the last card I have, Outer Wilds. Now this is an open world mystery about a solar system trapped in an endless time loop. I like time loops, and I like solar systems. So that one got me. Plus, the art style sort of reminded me a little bit of Firewatch, which was kind of cool. I like that. So those are the ones that I took cards for. Those are the ones that I'm going to keep an eye out for. Other than that, not a lot of new stuff. So, yep. Next. Gabis. How much time do you spend walking the floor, and what do you get up to when you're behind the scenes? Oh, now we're getting into the dirt. Walking the floor, though, isn't the whole lot. I think maybe in general, let's estimate 1 to 2 hours per day, depending on how much else there is that we're doing. If it's a day full of panels and signings and stuff. But I think Usually, so before PAX starts on the first day of PAX, PAX opens up at 10 a.m. At 9 a.m. on the same day, usually they do something that they call a media hour, and that is 1 whole hour of PAX before they open the doors, where only media and creators and people with special powers are allowed to walk around PAX without anyone else there. So usually then we will sort of scout around and see if there's any merch or any games that pique our interests. But on the actual days, usually maybe it's an hour here and there, and then we'll go out and have dinner somewhere or like a lunch with a group of friends somewhere else. I don't think I've ever actually eaten had food at PAX itself. But usually we'll go out and have a lunch or something with friends, and then we'll come back for maybe a second pass to go play the game we wanted or buy the thing that we wanted to get from the merch booth. And then we'll sort of go back to our hotels for a wind down or maybe hang out somewhere for a little bit. And then dinner and parties in the evening. So the floor part isn't actually that huge of a deal, at least to me personally, especially once you've been to a couple of PAXs. I think this is my 5th one, and I think once you've seen the floor, you kind of know what to expect and what to do there, and it's less about that now and more about just meeting people and hanging out with people, because can't do that here in Sweden. It's boring. You want to know what happens behind the scenes, though? Behind the scenes at PAX? Oh, there's a lot of waiting around, mainly. It's about it. Usually when we're at PAX, there's a lot of waiting around in, imagine like a classroom-sized room, but without any benches or stuff. It's just like round tables in the middle with a couple of chairs and a bunch of equipment and signs and toys, usually, for some reason. Sometimes there's food, but we basically sit around in these rooms and just chill out, and either we wait for a panel to start, or we wait for a signing to start, or we wait for people to gather in one place so that we can be escorted somewhere, or we wait for people who are just leaving a panel or a signing to sort of disperse a little bit, because they don't want to let us out into a group of 500 people who just went to a panel and maybe all would recognize certain people. No names mentioned, so we have to sort of wait around until it's safe to let us out. But that's about it. That's all that goes on behind the scenes. It's that, and it's being escorted around a lot of back hallways and service hallways and tunnels that are full of extra chairs. It's all very exciting, very glamorous, I assure you. Actually Al, or actually AI, with a capital I and a lowercase a. Just to confuse. Do you ever feel nervous when people come up to you or notice you? For example, nervous that you might say something weird, etc. Not really. I can't say that I do. The first PAX I ever went to, yes, I did. Because that was the only setting that I've ever been in where people that I didn't know knew who I was. But it's not really a problem nowadays. I don't think that people ever come up with malicious intent, you know? It's never a problem when people come up. So I've learned to know what to expect. So no, I don't get really nervous about that anymore anyway. And I mean, if I say weird stuff, I've said weird stuff on stream before. I've said weird stuff in videos, probably. I think I've said enough weird stuff that I'm not nervous about saying weird stuff anymore. 10th no-name person said, is PAX East different from PAX West? How does PAX work in general? I've never been, sadly, but I'm hoping to go to PAX West this year. Well, yes, PAX East and PAX West are different, mainly in the sense that one of them is in Seattle, and not in Boston. And they're spelled differently. Yeah, they're spelled differently. No, but I think in terms of what they have to offer you, they're not that different. They're different in the sense that PAX East is in one building. The convention floor is on one level, and all of the panels and talks and meet and greets, everything is in one building. So when you get to the convention center, you never really have to go anywhere else unless you want to go eat. But PAX West, they have a bit of a slightly different setup where the con floor is in one building with different levels. So at the top level, there's some merch and some board games and stuff, I think. And on the second floor, there's the games? I don't know. I've only been 3 times. But like the talks and the panels are in a whole different venue, a completely different building altogether. So you have to leave. And I mean, it's not like it's far. You don't have to drive there. It's like a 10-minute walk, maybe. But you have to go to a different place to actually listen to some of the panels or participate in some of those kinds of things. Which is a little bit tricky, especially if you want to go to multiple ones. And if one panel or thing, signing, just ends in one building, and you want to go to something else in another building, you have to sort of run. Because we had to do that once. That was fun. So it's a little bit different. I think PAX East is probably easier if it's your first one, because it's the least confusing one. But in terms of what they're offering, if you worry about missing out on stuff because you're going to one and not the other, don't worry about that. They have the same things. Both of them offer the same kinds of games and merch and the same types of panels and meet and greets. And usually the same people go to both of them. So it's mainly a location kind of thing. Rhubarb. How did you manage to avoid the PAX plague? It claimed so many victims. Yeah, the PAX plague is ever present. You can never escape. Unless you use lots and lots and lots of hand sanitizer. That's pretty much it. Well, I also never eat in the con hall at the con. I've never actually had con food. I know that there are con food because I know that Ethan had a $7 hot dog because he kept bringing that up. I don't know if it was amazing or just expensive, but it was a $7 hot dog. And I've also seen like a stand for sauce. So I guess you can get sauce. But other than that, I haven't actually ever been sick after a PAX, except for the very, very first one. I've managed to skirt by all the other ones, but the very first PAX I ever went to, I was like, hand sanitizer. I've never used hand sanitizer before. Why start now? I don't get sick easily. I can take it. I couldn't take it. So after my first PAX, I was like dead. I was like the sickest I think I've ever been for like a week solid. I was in bed and I had headaches and I had fevers and I could barely open my eyes for like a week solid, and it was awful. So I would say usually they have these little like you know, public bathroom soap dispensers kinds of things with hand sanitizers, like all over PAX, at all the escalators and entrances and exits. Use them. Use hand sanitizers a lot, and maybe don't eat at the con every day, but that's basically it. Usually when I leave the con, when I've met people, usually, I mean, there might be a little group of people that show up and you stick around for a while and you talk. Well, there's one person that shows up and then they text 14 other people and suddenly there's just a group of people. Do you have like scouts out and about looking? Anyway, you meet some people, you shake some hands, you hug, and then you leave and you hand sanitize. And you go up the escalators and you buy some merch, you hold a vinyl, and you put it back down and you hand sanitize. And then you leave the con and you go have food and you come back and you hand sanitize. You hand sanitize a lot. There's a lot of hand sanitizer going on. You need hand sanitizer and you need moisturizer, because you're gonna dry out. Luckily, I haven't been sick since I started doing that. Jesse Franz says, I know you said it probably wouldn't happen, but do you think you'd ever be interested in a panel for yourself to talk about animating, your videos, and the editing process? It wouldn't necessarily have to be a Q&A, but maybe just talk about what all you do. Yes, I would love to have a panel, or be on a panel at all in general. I was trying to get a panel for this one, but apparently got declined. So, you know, thanks PAX. You could, I'll take a panel, and you can call me. I'll wait. You can call me. I have a phone. Still nothing. I did have an idea for a panel for this time around, but it didn't happen. But I kind of wanted to do an editor's panel, not alone, but I wanted to do it with Catherine, who edited for Mark and Ethan before. Very tired cat, Catherine. And also maybe someone else. It wasn't confirmed, but it was an idea. Basically, just sort of introduce ourselves and say what we do and what we use. Get the FAQ out of the way, and make sure to tell people that it wasn't a panel about the people we work for, but about editing in general, for YouTube specifically, and for online content. I don't know, I feel like that might be useful to people. I know that I get questions now and then about editing and what I use and how I do certain things that I do, and there's a lot of people that want to start out but don't know how or where, and there's a lot of people that are starting out and want to get better. So I feel like an editor's Q&A type of panel could be kind of useful for people who want to learn how to do things the way we do them. So maybe that is potentially a thing that could happen in the future. I would love it. I would love to be on a panel or have my own panel. A smaller type of panel. I think Ethan did one, his very first one he ever did. He did in one of the smaller type rooms at PAX, not like the main theater that seats, I think, like 2,000 people. That'd be scary. But having like a small one for like a general Q&A, I would love that. That would be very nice. Maybe one of the days I will get my opportunity to have or be on a panel. I would love it. Mr. Camilla, do I ever feel restricted when it comes to doing exactly what I want to do whenever I want to do it because people might recognize you? What's your favorite food? You couldn't find anything tasty. Maybe you're better off. Well, when it comes to food, my favorite food at PAX, well, let's say during PAX because it's America. My favorite food is always the meat. The steaks. We don't have good steakhouses here. I don't think I've ever seen a steakhouse in Sweden in general. Anywhere I can go in America and get a medium 8-ounce filet mignon with maybe some cream corn and a nice pina colada, and I'm down. That's my favorite food going to PAX because it's in America and they do meat very well. Just saying. But in terms of feeling restricted when doing what I want to do, I feel so restricted all the time. No, I don't. I don't feel restricted at all. People, when it comes to recognizing me, people very rarely recognize me on my own. Mainly because, I mean, obviously my community, our community, hello, this community is still, in the grand scheme of things, one of the smaller ones, let's say, and there aren't that many people who are at PAX who know who I am to begin with already, but let alone people who would recognize me alone. If I'm not next to Sean, I think it's only happened once or twice, so that's not really a problem for me, per se. But in terms of feeling restricted, I think it's more so feeling restricted in the sense that it's hard to organize things when you're a big group of people. And that can be a little bit restricting because we are so many people that need to be escorted around PAX that sometimes you feel like you're a liability and you don't want to do certain things because you know that it would be trouble. Or like it would involve more people than just you going and doing the thing. But when I'm on my own, like Sean was doing a couple of Make-A-Wish kid meetups at PAX, so I wasn't around for that. I just chose to walk the floor, and I just did that all by myself, and that was nice. That was fun. That was fine. I could just zip in and out of people and go wherever I wanted. So no, for me personally, that's not an issue. And even when we're big groups of people, you don't really mind because you still have people to talk to. You're there with your friends, so it's not a problem. Bailey says, what's your favorite thing to look for in the expo hall? Games, pins, and free stuff. I don't know if there's a lot of free stuff on PAX. Well, I mean, maybe you can get lanyards. But in terms of games and pins, I usually always go to the I Am 8-Bit booth, and I usually keep an eye out for the Double Fine booth, because I want to see if they have new fun pins, and I also want to see if they have new fun vinyl records. I think I've bought a vinyl record, at least one vinyl record, at every single PAX I've been to. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 vinyls, and I still don't have a vinyl player. But I like getting them because they have nice artworks. It's nice to have like this big size kind of physical thing with art from a game that you enjoy and want to support. The last time I bought was the Slime Rancher one on this PAX just now. It's pretty sweet. The Cuphead one is insane. It's like a book. It's like bound and thick and girthy and throb. So usually that's what I look out for. And obviously, like I said before, the indie games that have an art style that sort of catches my eye. Those things, mainly. Danny, what do you want? What are you saying? What is my least favorite part of PAX? And no, the actual traveling part doesn't count. My least favorite part. I think my least favorite thing about PAX is the indecisiveness, the waiting around that happens sometimes. I think I have I guess phobia isn't the right word, but like a fear, an obsession with not wasting time, I guess. I'm always worried about wasting time. Even when I'm doing things that I want to do, I feel like I'm wasting time that I could do other things during. Like, if I play a game that I really want to play, I feel like I'm wasting time that could be used watching a show on Netflix or something, a movie that I want to see. And if I watch a movie that I want to see, I feel like I could be spending that time playing a game. And if I'm working on an animation, I feel like I'm wasting time that I could be spending on editing or playing or streaming a game. And if I'm doing those things, I feel like I'm wasting time that should be put to animation. So I'm always worried about wasting time. I hate wasting time. And at PAX, because we are usually like a group of like maybe 10, 12 people, it's hard to coordinate. This isn't by any one person or person's fault. This is just what happens when you're a big group of people. But like finding a place to go to or finding a restaurant that will seat 10, 12 people, or finding a party that we can all go to, or deciding on a party to go to if there are multiple ones happening the same night. Everything takes a lot of time, and when there's like 40 minutes of people standing around going, where do we go? What do we do? What's next? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Can we go there? I don't know. I'm gonna call them. What about this place? I don't know. That goes on for like 40 minutes. It gets a little bit frustrating because it feels like we're wasting time. I'm only here. I'm only in the country for 5 days. Let's go. Let's do something now. But I mean, it always happens and it always works out and it's always fun at the end. I mean, we always end up somewhere nice and it's always a fun time because I'm hanging out with friends. So it always works out. It's just during those little moments, let's do something. And I think that's my least favorite, I guess, byproduct of going to a convention with so many people in one spot at the same time. Not really PAX's fault though. Porg Dad Leon S. Kennedy. I go to PAX West, but I'm curious as to what it's like from your perspective. Usually if I see you and Jack out and about, you're surrounded by PAX enforcers. Is that just a regular occurrence? That would make me so nervous. Wait, that would make you nervous? Are you scared of the enforcers? They are pretty scary sometimes. I'm terrified of them. I'd say it's definitely different from our perspective, or from my perspective, because we don't have to wait in line to get into PAX. Still, if we want to play the games and stuff, obviously we have to wait in line for that. You can't just throw people out, that'd be super rude. And also, we wouldn't want to do that anyway, because people have been waiting to play the games. So if we want to play a game, we're still waiting in line for that. But when it comes to going in and out of PAX and through panels, that's definitely a very, very lucky scenario from our perspective, because we get to just go in. But I mean, having enforcers around is also a nice sort of security blanket. Plus, by now, we're just friends. It's just like having more friends around, really. It's usually, for PAX East and PAX West, it's usually the same core group of enforcers that help us out with getting around the con in general. So by now, having gone to PAX 5 times, I think, you know them pretty well. I mean, you know them and you hang out with them for the signings and you walk around the floor with them, you get to know them and you get along. And by now we usually, for at least for the last night of PAX, usually meet up with a few of them and have some drinks and just chat and hang out, and it's a very pleasant time. They're very nice people. They just look very, very, very scary. But having them around is just very helpful, really, because there's always someone there that you can, it's like having a real Alexa just with you, because they have like the little walkie-talkie radio in their ear, right? So they can just go, person to person, we need to find this place, and they just get the information just like that. So no matter where you want to go or what game or booth you want to find, you can just go, I'm looking for the blooper team booth, Layers of Fear. Do you know where that is? And they'll just like check, and they're just, oh yeah, it's just down here into there, and you would just go there. So you're never lost and you're never stuck, because if security shows up, they just deal with that. They just know. They just have absolute authority to do anything. It's amazing. It's like magic. Plus, they can always get you to a bathroom as well, which is pretty sweet. So having an enforcer with you is like the best. Maybe everyone should have an enforcer. Just twice the amount of people, but half of them enforcing like one person each. Would totally work. Natalie, Scotland. What was, if there was any, weirdest fan encounter? What was weirdest fan encounter? Also sucks they couldn't make it this year. Hope to see you next back. Aw, I hope to see you too, Natalie. Best of luck with the adventures. Weirdest fan interaction though, there's a couple of awkward ones, I guess, that there's been. Usually if someone comes up to you and they say hello in, like in a fan creator scenario, a community meetup scenario, and they show up and they say hello, and you say hello, and then nothing else happens, and this person just sort of stands there and doesn't say anything, which I totally get. I'm not trying to like blame anyone. If you do that, don't worry about it. We get it. I get it, because it's hard to talk to someone you don't know, especially if you're nervous and anxious about it. So don't worry about it. But it always sort of catches me off guard, because it doesn't happen that often. So when you're used to this mode of like having a conversation with a stranger, essentially, when there's no conversation, you get sort of like, oh, wait, how does this work again? What do I say? So it's a little bit stumping sometimes when that happens, when someone doesn't say anything, and it's just, what do I do? Hi. But I guess the weirder ones, or I'm gonna say the most offensive fan encounters that I've had personally, and this has only happened, I think, 2 or 3 times, but the ones that I find kind of offensive are when someone's come up and said, I don't know who you are, but can I get a picture with you? Or can you sign my thing? And it's like, if you don't know who I am, you're just here because you saw other people taking pictures or getting an autograph or whatever, and you just want to be part of that without knowing what the hell is going on at all. Don't ask me for my picture just because you've seen other people do it. That's weird. That's kind of feels a little bit rude, because we're not attractions that you just go up and pose with without knowing us or knowing of us. I don't think anyway. It's weird, okay? Oh, and I guess another weird thing. This isn't rude as much. This is just kind of weird. But when you meet someone and you talk with them for a while, and then you go, did you want me to sign anything? And they go, oh, I don't mind. That's a little weird also, because it's like, well, I'm not signing things for my personal enjoyment. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting the people, and I'd love to sign things if you want things signed. It's not that, but I don't mind is a weird response to that, because it's like, oh, yeah, I guess so. It's okay. You can sign the thing if you really want to. Like, well, I don't. Sure, but do you want me to? I don't mind is a weird response. Cheryl Foster, what cosplay impressed you at this year's PAX or at any PAX? Well, there's always a bunch of cool cosplay. I mean, I've never done a proper cosplay myself, and I would love to, but I have no idea how to do it or where to start or what to do, what to even dress as. I don't know what I could pull off. So seeing cosplay costumes that people have made themselves is always super impressive to me, because I tried to make something once. I tried to sew once. I tried to make a t-shirt, and I did, but I think it's it's like a t-shirt that if I showed it to my mom, she probably wouldn't know what was up or down, and then she would sort of pin it to the fridge sideways just to sort of appease me. So anything that people have made themselves is crazy to see, because people are very creative. I saw this time around, I saw a lot of KDA cosplays, especially, I don't know the names of the characters, but the lady with the crystal nine tails kind of tails all around her going up from her behind, like up and around. There's a lot of those, and first of all, how do you even rig up a system that will allow that sort of support for 9 tails coming up around you? And second, navigating PAX like that must be real hard, because it's hard to just walk around as a normal human boy with 2 arms, but imagine having a big, like, just so many tails all over you. How do you not get caught all over? And maybe people do rip them off. That'd be sad, but people are very dedicated, and that's cool to see. I really want to do it sometime as well, because it's awesome looking. And you can get away with a bunch of shit if you have a mask that covers your face. Like if I was dressed as Deadpool, no one would know. Alicia, does it ever get overwhelming being around that many people at once? My anxiety is too high for conventions. Well, yeah, I could definitely see that. I'd say not anymore. My first one, definitely. My first PAX I ever went to, I was super nervous about meeting that many people at once in one place, sort of. I think the more overwhelming things would be doing a panel for the first time, or anytime there's a first, because you don't know what to expect. You don't have anything to reference that towards. So now that I've been to a couple of conventions, I know what a convention is like. I know the mind space you're in, I know how the floor works, and I know what people are usually like at conventions. So for me, no, it's not overwhelming anymore, but I could definitely see how it would be if you go to one and you're on the floor with that many people. And I think that's why it's also important to have some sort of means of escape, because you do want to get, you need a break. You do want to be able to get a break sometime. And even if you're at a con, say PAX, and you get overwhelmed and you feel anxious, you can always ask the enforcers for help. You can always ask an enforcer to get help escorted somewhere out of the crowd and just take a breather, sit in a quiet space, just take a moment to yourself. You can always ask them for that. They're there to help you, even with stuff like that. So if you are going to PAX, or if you are worried about feeling overwhelmed, I would say try it, because it's definitely worth experiencing. If you're like on the fence, if you're for sure like, oh no, I would never be able to do that, then maybe not. But if you're on the fence, might be fun. Harlequin, how do folks get booths? Are they chosen to have one, or do they have to pay to have one? Also, do you prefer PAX or E3? Well, In terms of booths, I have no idea. I assume that you apply through the website for PAX. I've never done a booth. I mean, I've never even done a panel because apparently it's not interesting enough. But do I prefer PAX or E3? Well, I've never been to E3. I think E3 only opened up for the general public like a year ago or something, so I could only have gone to that one anyway, but I would say I prefer E3 when it comes to watching it, because that's where they're revealing most of the big things, like the new PlayStations, or the new Xboxes, or the new Nintendos, or the new Last of Us game is gonna be, you know, shown at E3, or the big things, the big blockbuster kind of big budget studio Hollywood-esque productions are gonna be at E3, and the new tech is gonna be at E3. So I always have the E3 streams up during those days because I want to keep up and see what they're announcing and see what's happening. And I enjoy that part of it. But when it comes to visiting, I've heard that E3 is way too crowded, way overcrowded, and that you can barely get into the building sometimes. You can barely get into the scene where they're showing off new games because there's just so many people queuing up. And I would not want to go there if I had to do that for every single game I wanted to see shown off. That sounds horrible. While at PAX, like when you're in, you're in. As long as you get into the con, then you're in the show. You can go to booths, you can play games, you can go to a panel. Like, everything is there, and everything is sort of more accessible, I think, to the general public. I would say I prefer PAX, having gone to only that one. Miss Lily, did you have a VIP pass ticket badge? If so, were you granted different areas than the people with regular tickets? I did have a VIP badge, yes. I think this is the one thing that we get special from being who we are, I guess, in terms of things free of charge. Going to PAX, you know, we pay for flights and hotels just like anyone else, but the badge, we do get them. I get my badges through Sean. I don't know where he gets them. The badge fountain space? But this is the only time they've had a VIP badge. I've had a special guest badge before, which looks like this. That's the look at that. Such a special guest. Wow. Very special. Those are the badges that they did before. So there's media badge or content creator badge that you can apply for if you have, I think, above a certain number of subscribers on YouTube. I don't know actually. You can get a content creator badge somehow, and you have the special guest badges, and then there's the exhibitor badges for the people who show things. And then there's the normal, like Monday badge, Sunday badge, Friday badge, whatever day badge you're on badge. But this year they had the VIP badges, which looked like this. I don't know why the slime was a theme for this one, but that was the VIP badge. Very fancy, very cool, very fancy, very cool, made me feel super special. In terms of special different access, not really. I don't think there are any areas that require you to have a VIP or special badge, other than obviously like enforcer badges to go behind the scenes and stuff. The only thing that these badges do, the VIP and the special guest badge, is that you have one badge that covers all the days. So rather than having a Friday badge on Friday and a Saturday badge on Saturday, etc., you just have the one badge. And usually people can see that, okay, if I'm alone and I'm going backstage to get to Sean's panel, for example, to get to the waiting room that I mentioned before, I could usually go up to some guard or enforcer and say, hey, I need to get to the back room. Could you just show me how to do that? And if I have a VIP badge, they'll be like, oh, okay, you're not like a fan that's trying to get to a YouTuber. You're actually supposed to be there. So in that sense, I guess, yeah, some sort of special access, you can say. But in terms of free things other than that, not really. We just get to go to the con. and that's about it. And admittedly, we get to feel very special. Spook Show, baby. Did I try G Fuel? I did. Not at PAX though, but I did try G Fuel at Twitchcon, which I went to just this past weekend. Yes, and I guess as a quick side note, Twitchcon was kind of dull. I mean, it was nice. It was nice, like, put together. It was just very small, but it was well done. They had things, they had games, they had a lot of, like, sponsored stuff. I think TwitchCon is probably more for people who want to get into streaming or who are just starting out with streaming in general. And as someone who knows a thing or two about, you know, streaming, I think it's good if you are just starting out, because they had a lot of starting gear. They had a lot of the blue mics, the blue Yeti and the Snowball and some Elgato stuff. They had a lot of like streamer setup stuff that basically people who stream already most likely know about. So if you're starting out, then maybe go to a TwitchCon, meet people, hang out. Otherwise, it wasn't all that exciting. But I did get to meet fun people from the streams, so that was nice. And I also got to buy G Fuel, which was okay, I guess. You're not missing out. It tastes like sugar powder, kind of chalky. It tastes like sweetener and artificial flavors. And it makes you feel kind of full and kind of weird because of all the caffeine. And then nothing happens, and that's about it. But I guess I got to see Berlin a little bit, and I got to hang out more with some friends and eat some good foods, so that was nice. But I think that's about it for all the questions. I've been recording for 1 hour and 13 minutes, so it's a long video, but there you have it. That's my experience with PAX. I hope you learned something and maybe can decide on going or not going, if you're interested. And you got some insight in the glamorous life of a VIP badge person at PAX. It's mainly hanging out with friends and eating way overpriced food because you're basically on vacation at the same time. That's about it. It's nice. It's worth it. Go if you can. Hang out with some friends. Enjoy. But for now, I'm gonna go. And I'll see you around the streams, maybe. I stream on Twitch Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays and Saturdays at 8 o'clock Sweden time. So, you know, you can come hang out if you want. And if you don't want to, you can just stay here on YouTube and rot. YouTube is going down. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it wasn't too boring. I'm gonna try to make it less boring in editing if I can.
Farewell.
I hope those audio effects works, because if it doesn't, then I just look stupid. As opposed to otherwise. Bye.